that work in spatial computing. So today I'm going to give you an introduction to a book that Robert Scoble and I have written that's about to come out on May 11th. It's already available for pre-order on Amazon. And it's all about spatial computing and how it's going to affect 7 industries, what's going on now in those 7 industries, and how it's going to affect them in 3 to 5 years and then 10 years from now. So basically, let me explain what spatial computing is, because it's fairly a new term and we're including quite a bunch of technologies there. So spatial computing comprises all the software and hardware technologies that enable humans, virtual beings, or robots to move through real or virtual worlds. And that includes AI, computer vision, augmented reality, virtual reality, sensor technology, and automated vehicles. 7 industry verticals will see transformational change due to spatial computing. Transportation, technology, media and telecommunications, manufacturing, retail, healthcare, finance, and education. These changes are what is driving strategy at many tech companies and the spending of billions of dollars of R&D investment. Already, products like Microsoft's HoloLens AR headset have seen adoption in places from surgery rooms to military battlefields. And devices like it show this new computing paradigm, albeit in a package that's currently a little too bulky and expensive for more than a few of the hardiest early adopters. However, these early devices are what got us to be very excited about a future that will be here soon. As the 2020s open, we have VR devices that cost a few $100s that are great for games and a few other things like corporate training. And on the more expensive side of the scale, we have devices that can be used by car designers or even as flight simulators to train airline pilots. The expensive ones, though, will soon look as out of date as one of the first cell phones does today. By 2025, the computing inside will shrink to the fraction of the size of today's devices, and the screens inside will be much sharper and capable of presenting virtual and augmented worlds to us that far exceed what we can experience today. It is this new wave of devices that will usher in the paradigm shift in computing and in human living that we are discussing here. Already, these changes are hitting many enterprises, raising productivity. Inside many warehouses, hundreds of thousands of robots scurry about, moving products from trucks to packages. These new warehouses have evolved over the past decade and enable retailers to keep up with floods of new online orders that go back to in 2000 that were only dreamt of in futuristic books like this one. The productivity gains will spread to many jobs. At Cleveland Clinic, surgeons are already using similar technology that shows them digital views from ultrasound, CAT scans, and other sensors. Like the warehouse worker who sees a blue line on the floor telling her how to find the product she's looking for. In this case, when a surgeon navigates into the right place to cut out a cancerous tumor, it lights up like a missile guidance system and tells the surgeon they are in the right place. Other systems help workers phone a friend with new remote assistance features. This can help companies that have expensive machinery or other workforces, including surgeons, architects, and engineers, save money. At some plants, the savings will be substantial. It took us 30 minutes to simply walk across the Boeing floor where it builds airliners. Asking someone for advice virtually might save someone an hour of walking just to come over and see your problem in a plant like that. On this next screen is Steve Wozniak beside the Apple II at the Computer History Museum. And there's a reason why we're showing this. Spatial computing's technological changes laid out in the Infinite Retina's Chapter 1 Prime Directive. Mobile phones soon will give way to headsets and glasses that bring computing to every surface. What is driving all of this new technology? We have the need for complex technologies to keep us around on this planet longer and in a more satisfied and productive state. What will drive us to build or buy new headsets, sensors, and vehicles along with the connected systems controlled by artificial intelligence. Augmentation is coming, and that can mean a lot of different things. In the book, we look back in Chapter 2, 4 paradigms and 6 technologies at the previous 3 foundations of personal computing and include the new spatial computing paradigm. The 6 technologies discussed are those that enable spatial computing to work: optics and displays, wireless and communications, control mechanisms, for example, using voice and hands, sensors and mapping, compute architectures, for instance, new kinds of cloud computing, and AI. It all started with the personal computer of the late 1970s. The paradigm shift was followed by graphical user interfaces and networking in the 1980s, and the mobile iPhone and other devices that started arriving in the 1990s, culminating with the iPhone in 2007. Then we look forward to the next paradigm and why it will be so different, and why so many more people will be able to get more out of spatial computing than the laptops, desktops, and smartphones that came before. Human-machine interfaces are radically changing, and we visited the labs that brought us the mouse to understand the differences between how humans interface with computers with keyboards and mice to how we'll interface with cloud computing that is hyper-connected by using voice, eyes, hands, and other methods, including even wearing suits with sensors all along our bodies. It's amazing to see how far we've come from the Apple II days, where there were very few graphics, to spatial computing, where cameras see the real world, decipher it, and decide how to drive a car around it. Okay, I'm trying to move to the next page and it's not moving. Here we go. Excellent. Okay, so on this slide, it's actually showing what a screen looks like when LiDAR is applied to it. So not only a screen, but an environment. And that's what in computer vision is showing when there's LiDAR. And I'll explain what LiDAR is in a second. Because of this new technology, cities and even countryside will change. Autonomous vehicle pioneers tell us in the 3rd chapter, Vision 1, transportation automates. Soon you will tell your glasses, hey, I need a ride, and you'll see your ride arrive. Sounds like Uber or Lyft, right? Look closer. There isn't a driver inside. Now think of the costs and other advantages of that. Economists see that such a system could be a fraction of the cost and can do many other things as well. You could say, hey, car, can you go pick up my laundry and then dinner for our family? The problem with such a world is that it is probable, many tell us, that we'll see much more traffic near cities as we use transportation to do new things like pick up our laundry. This is why Elon Musk came up with the Boring Company to build tunnels under cities. We show some other solutions pioneers have come up with, including special roads for these vehicles and new kinds of flying vehicles that will whisk commuters into city centers, passing above all that new traffic. Transportation soon will include more trucks. It's not moving to slide 4. Okay, I'm going to continue and I'm going to keep trying to, oh, here we go. Excellent. Okay, so games aren't the only things that better devices will bring. In Chapter 4, Vision 2, virtual worlds appear. We provide detail on technology, media, and telecommunications, another of our 7 industry verticals to be disrupted. We start out by detailing the different kinds of devices that are available to bring a spectrum of spatial computing capabilities to your face, from virtual and augmented reality headsets to lightweight smart information glasses and contact lenses with displays so small that it'll be very hard to tell that your friend is wearing one. So there are pretty profound trade-offs made as manufacturers bring devices to the market. VR headsets emphasize immersion, or the feeling you get when you see something beautiful wrapped all around you. Augmented reality headsets focus on the virtual layer that they reveal on top of the real world. Often, it's amazing and magical, albeit usually with less of that I'm in a dark movie theater with a huge screen feeling. Then there are a few other devices that focus mostly on being lightweight, bringing navigation and notification style functionality. Our guide in the book isn't designed to be comprehensive, but rather to give you an understanding of the market choices that both businesses and consumers will soon have to make. While cataloging the device categories, we also show some of the new entertainment capabilities that soon will come, which will be captured with new arrays of volumetric and light field cameras. We visited several such studios and delivered you into a new entertainment world, one where you can walk around in and interact with objects and the virtual beings inside. These new media and entertainment experiences are arriving with a bundle of new technologies, from AR clouds, which contain both 3D scans of the real world and tons of virtual things that can be placed on top, to complete metaverses where users can do everything from build new fun cities to play new kinds of games with their friends. In enterprises, they're already building a form of an AR cloud called the digital twin, which is changing a lot about how employees are trained, work together, and manage new kinds of factories. We visited the world's top manufacturing plants, and in many of them, we see new kinds of work being done with lots of robots that didn't exist just a few years ago, with workers walking around wearing new devices on their faces, helping them learn or perform various jobs. In Chapter 5, Vision 3, Augmented Manufacturing, you'll learn about how spatial computing is changing how factories are even designed. Increasingly, these factory floors are using robots. The robots are different than they used to be too. The older ones used to be kept in cages designed to keep humans away. Those still can be found welding, or like in Ford's Detroit factory, putting windshields into trucks. Newer robots work outside of cages and sometimes can even touch humans. These types of robots are called cobots because they cohabit with humans and can greatly assist workers. In the coming years, humans will both be trained to work with these new robots using new VR and AR technologies, as well as train the robots themselves in new headsets with new user interfaces that let humans virtually control factory floors. As these new spatial computing technologies are increasingly used on factory floors, they bring new capabilities from virtual interfaces to physical machines and new productivity enhancers. For instance, in many of these systems, workers can leave videos, 3D drawings, and other scans and other notes for workers on the next shift to see. Basically, you could say, "Hey, Joe, the cutting machine is starting to misbehave. I ordered a new motor for it so you can fix it when the line is down at 2 p.m. I'm switching to another slide now. All right, and when the slide comes up, okay, I'm not going to wait for it to show up. I'm just going to speak and keep trying to show it. The next slide will show an Amazon Scout robot. And the reason for this is that we talk about retail and we talk about delivery systems and logistics in the book, which are really important. So the product, here, I'm going to try again. Not working. Okay. The products that Joe makes will eventually be found in retail stores. Here we go. No. Sorry, Steve. Next. There we go. Okay. So the products that Joe makes will eventually be found in retail stores, many of which will be quite different than the ones that Sears ran decades ago. Walk into an Amazon Go store and look at the ceiling. You'll see hundreds of cameras and sensors aimed back at you, watching and categorizing every move you make. In the Go store, they charge you for the products you take without you even having to talk to a checkout clerk or pull out a credit card or really do anything other than walk out of the store. In Chapter 6, Vision for Robot Consumers, we detail these changes along with others that make retail stores, even traditional ones, more efficient and better for both consumers and sales for producers, and useful new augmented reality technologies that make shopping at home much easier. As we were finishing up this book, Apple announced a new iPad with a 3D sensor, and it demonstrated why people should buy one of these new iPads by showing off one of these futuristic shop-at-home experiences where the person holding the tablet could drop chairs and other items into their real home to see how they fit. The changes, though, don't stop at the shopping experience, Behind the scenes, these technologies are making things more efficient, helping logistics companies pick and pack products faster and getting them to stores faster and with fewer losses. And we detail how spatial computing is making a difference there. Similar changes are underway in healthcare. They're so profound that Dr. Brennan Spiegel, Director of Health Research at Cedars-Sinai, says that we should expect a new kind of healthcare worker, the virtualist. This kind of practitioner will perform several roles: help patients prevent disease, help doctors deliver a new form of healthcare, and help the nurses, doctors, and other staff perform their jobs more efficiently using new spatial computing technology. For instance, let's say you need surgery. Well, a new surgeries team at Cleveland Clinic is already using Microsoft HoloLenses to see inside of you, thanks to images from scanners being visualized inside the surgeon's headgear. In Chapter 7, Vision 5, Virtual Healthcare, we discuss how its system guides the surgeon into the right spot to cut a patient's cancerous tumor. That's just a tiny piece of what's happening in healthcare due to spatial computing technology. On another wing of the hospital, doctors are using VR to address mental illnesses and ailments from PTSD to dementia, with more applications on the way. At the University of Washington, they discovered it often is better at treating pain than using opiates, which are much more dangerous, killing tens of thousands of Americans every year due to addiction. In other places, nurses noticed that patients going through tough procedures preceding childbirth felt a lot less pain too if they were watching a 360 video experience during the process. Other doctors even found ways to enhance athletes' perception. These brain tricks and virtual remedies have the capacity to significantly change healthcare. Pfizer's head of innovation told us that she views augmented and virtual reality as the future of medicine. How does all this work? Largely on data. New predictive systems will watch your health by having sensors look into your eyes, watch your vascular system or bloodstreams, and sense other things too. Maybe to the point where they see that you are eating too much sugar or smoking too many cigarettes. One could even warn your doctor that you aren't taking your medicine or performing the exercises that she prescribed. Are we ready for new tough conversations with our doctors? Remember, in this future, maybe your doctors are a virtual being from whom you don't mind hearing the harsh truth. One of the studies we found showed that patients actually are much more honest about their mental health problems when talking with a virtual being or in a chat that's run by AI. These AIs won't just be helping us keep our health on track either. Similar systems might let us know about market changes that we need to pay attention to, or like banks already do when they notice that buying behavior is out of bounds, warn you about other things. The financial industry is generally a relatively conservative one, so adoption of spatial computing technologies there is contingent upon demonstrated and clear utility, and they must be additive to the bottom line. Currently, there is very little spatial computing that is being actively used there. However, the possibilities are very promising. In Chapter 8, Vision 6, Virtual Trading and Banking, we cover the future uses for spatial computing in the financial industry. In the chapter, we review the functional areas where we think spatial computing will have its greatest impact, including 3D data visualization, virtual trading, ATM security and facial payment machines, and virtual bank functionality or virtual branch functionality and customer service. Someday, soon, we may never go into a physical bank again due to these changes. But could the same happen with our schools? Already, teachers are using augmented and virtual reality to teach all kinds of lessons, from chemistry experiments to math visualizations to even virtual dissections of real-looking animals. And here I'm moving to the next page. I'm just going to wait a second. There we go. All right. So this is a picture of third grade students in Silicon Valley using VR as part of a lesson. So COVID-19 showed us that sometimes we might need to rely completely on teaching virtually. And in Chapter 9, Vision 7, Real-Time Learning, we talk with educators and others who are using technology aggressively to make learning more virtual. It isn't only for kids either. Soon, because of automation, we'll need to retrain millions of adults around the world And schools and universities are responding with new curricula, new learning programs for VR and AR, and new support systems to enable even truck drivers to change careers. Speaking of careers, already at companies like Caterpillar, they're using AR glasses to train workers to fix their expensive tractors in real time. Many new VR-based training systems are being developed, from simulators to help police learn how to deal with terrorist situations, to ones that show quarterbacks how to perform better, to training at Walmart that shows retail workers how to manage stores better. Verizon even trained its retail store workers on what to do if they were being robbed using VR-based training. What if, though, the system can do even more, we asked, and predict what we might do next and assist us with that? How can computers predict our next move? Well, truth be told, we are somewhat predictable. We buy groceries at the same store every week, visit the same gas stations, go to the same churches, schools, offices, movie theaters when they're still around, laundries, and head home at pretty much the same time every evening. Watching our friends, we can usually predict what they will order from menus or how they will complain when we try to get them off pattern. Ever try to take someone who prefers steak and potatoes to a sushi restaurant? Can't we predict that they will have the same preference?
Oh, it's happening again. Your microphone has been cut. Oh, well. You're back.
Yes. Oh, good. Okay. So I was talking about computer prediction. So watching our friends, we can usually predict what they will order from menus or that they'll complain if we try to change their patterns at restaurants. So it would be very difficult to try to take somebody to a sushi restaurant if they prefer steak and potatoes. Can't we predict that they will have the same preferences tomorrow night? Yes, and so can computer algorithms. But spatial computing systems soon should know a lot more about us than even our best friends do. Since they could watch every interaction, every product touched, every music song picked, and every movie watched. In Chapter 10, The Always Predicted World, we show how the data will be used in each of our 7 disruptable industries to serve users in radically new ways. Now, I predict that you will enjoy learning more about the 7 people who are pushing spatial computing further in our next chapter, 11, Spatial Computing World Makers. Instead of going through a list of who these people are, I'd like to tell you why we picked the people here. One spends time in retail stores the world over and uses technology to help them become not only more profitable, but more customer-centric. Another developed Google's autonomous vehicle technology and has gone on to further build out a huge vision of the future of transportation. You'll meet one leader who, from his perch at Qualcomm, sees literally every new product coming before the rest of us do. Also on the list are a couple of investors, one East Coast, one West, who are pouring resources into entrepreneurs who are bringing us the future of virtual beings and the AI that runs them. AI. Finally, we have a doctor who is pushing the healthcare system forward into a world of augmented and virtual reality, and a successful innovator who builds companies that have immersiveness in VR at their core. We picked them out of thousands that we've studied because they represent a guiding hand that will bring superpowers to us all. And now I'm leaving you back to our book page. Here we go. Not yet. Okay, I'll keep talking and hopefully it'll come in. So, thinking ahead. Come on. With these new superpower-like capabilities, some responsibilities that come to us that the companies and organizations who create and use spatial computing owe to the people who use their technologies are they bring with them new ways of doing things. And the more significant the change, the more uncharted and unknown are their ramifications that occur as a result of their use. In Chapter 12, How Human, we provide a philosophical framework put forth by L.A. Paul of Yale University in our book Transformative Experience that explains why human beings tend to have cognitive issues with radical new technologies. We then discuss recent issues regarding privacy, security, identity, and ownership and how they relate to spatial computing. Finally, we take up how spatial computing technologies can be utilized to bring about human social good. Now, we wrote the Infinite Retina for a wide audience of non-technical people rather than for engineers. By the end of the book, you should understand the technologies, companies, and people who are changing computing from being something you do while sitting and facing a flat computer screen or while holding a phone, to computing that you could move through three-dimensionally. We focus on how spatial computing could be used by enterprises and effectively radically change the way human beings learn from information, visuals, and understand their world. I and Robert very strongly believe that enterprise use of spatial computing will lead to massive consumer use, and we're excited to share our learning in this book with you. And that's all I have for you today. This last slide was supposed to be our book again, but you saw it in the first slide anyway. Thank you so much for having me.
Please all clap. Yay.
Thank you, Irena.
Thank you so much. I know I need to get down the stage now.
Oh, no, you can stay. Do you
Oh,
want to answer questions maybe from the
sure.
audience?
I can if you have time. Absolutely.
You can see the chat. We have 1 or 2 questions.
All right. I'm back. Now, let me see. Okay. So the question, how does yesterday's announcement by Magic Leap affect the spatial computing landscape and the vision you describe in your book? All right. So anyone that knows me over the last 2 years that has had a talk with me regarding spatial computing and a landscape of what's going to happen there with players knows that I've been saying that Magic Leap is pretty much going to be out of the picture. So I started this 2 years ago. I kind of knew that because I started off in finance and I knew their burn rate. So I knew how much money they were going through every month. And I knew that they weren't having any revenues coming in. So just a simple mathematical equation can tell you that they would be in trouble. And it just kept on multiplying because they kept needing more money. So I knew the time would come when they would have to either lay off like they did yesterday or close down. To answer the question more directly, I don't think Magic Leap is going to have there's no ramification to it in terms of the layoffs or if they shut down. Basically, their product, they're trying to pivot towards enterprise use, and it's not specifically really suited for that. And they closed down their consumer arm. So they basically not had an impact. Microsoft HoloLens has, and other headsets that will be coming into the market soon are definitely going to have a greater impact with both enterprise and consumer. So let me go on here. Is there an online interactive resource for best practice tools you'll be creating? We ourselves are not going to be doing that simply because we're working specifically with business clients right now for enterprise. So the 7 industries that I talked about, we've helped a lot of the different verticals. So we're not outward facing that way, but I'm sure in the future, because the future is coming for spatial computing, especially for AR now as it builds up, this will happen. Okay, and I think those are all the questions. Wait a minute. What is the link for the book? Okay, so it's currently available for pre-order on Amazon. So if you go and you just type in the Infinite Retina, it'll take you to that page. It starts shipping out on May 11th, and it's available in both paperback and also digital version of it. And we're looking to have it available on Audible too.
Many thanks, Irena.
Thank you